Welcome back to another episode of Consumer Protection and You with Ryan Lippe. Today, Ryan's going to be talking about home repair, improvement tips, and potential scams. So stay tuned. Welcome back to another episode of Consumer Protection and You with Ryan Lippe. Ryan Lippe is a consumer educator with the State of Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost office.
With some of the warm weather approaching, and we're getting into some rainy months as well, that is prime time for home improvement and home repair scammers. And, right when we're ready to tackle a project, right when we get shingles removed from our roofs without our consent by windstorms, that's a green light for scammers to come after us for personal information and money. So, many contractors do a great job. I mean, let's face that. But unfortunately, some contractors are less than reputable, and it's important to do your homework before you hire someone. So that knock on your door doesn't necessarily mean you should stop everything and sign a contract and not get any more estimates. It means the opposite. You should wait, take a deep breath, see what they're offering, compare that and contrast that with various other estimates you may get to find what the best value is and to get the most reputable repair shop in your corner.
In the springtime, we seem to have a lot of adverse weather conditions. Recently, in our area, we had several tornadoes. I would imagine that the State of Ohio Attorney General's office is well aware that scams can happen in those places where adverse weather destroyed some homes.
Absolutely. And we need to reach those people that are affected by everything from a common storm all the way up to and including natural disasters. Because unfortunately, scammers will prey on folks, may want to contribute to the community or may want to get their own house or condominium in better tip-top shape from damage. So, while there are many legitimate contractors, one thing that separates some of the scammers from the legitimate contractors is they want a large down payment. They may even want cash. So if somebody asks you to put all your money up front, tell them no. That's not a reasonable request for a consumer to adhere to. We tell people in our office, maybe pay in thirds, maybe put 1/3 of the total invoice amount as a down payment, maybe pay a third once you've made sure that they've done some satisfactory work, and then save at least a third, if not more than that, for the end of the job, so you know that they're going to come back. We see all too many consumers throughout the whole year. It's not just limited to the warm, rainy season, but we see scammers all year round that want large down payments and then they don't show up to do the work, or they say they've ordered the materials, but somehow those materials don't show up on your doorstep. Or they do a shoddy job. Sometimes that's just adding insult to injury when they do a shoddy job and leave your home in more disrepair than it originally was. So we want people to keep their guard up and we want people to be safe and secure. And that really starts out with getting recommendations. And, successful contractors will make it easy to access feedback on their work and have related documentation. Maybe have some neighbors in your own community that you can call to check up on to see if they've done satisfactory work for some of your neighbors. So a good start is to get recommendations from friends and family and neighbors and people in your groups and organizations, but it doesn't stop there. You really need to research multiple contractors, get at least 3 written estimates from 3 different contractors to help you weed out the bad apples. And, beware of contractors that only have a few projects for you to review as well. I've had contractors come to my condo with a pre-assembled notebook full of different home repair jobs that they satisfactorily completed. So I went to bat and went to call some of them to make sure that that their reputation was solid and that they had real projects under their belt that have done the right thing in consumers' mind.
So what happens if we do make the mistake? Because many times it's very easy. Let's suppose that we pay a contractor 60-70% and they never show back up. What do I do to try to recover my money?
Well, certainly you want to try to work it out as best you can yourself. Make calls to the contractor, put in writing what you need done, what you had agreed on, and give them a deadline to answer that problem that you've alerted them to. And if all else fails, then it's time to call the Ohio Attorney General's office, because we have an informal dispute resolution process where every day we're working to tell the consumer side of the story to these businesses. Now, the bad news is we're not a court. We can't give legal advice. We can't issue judgments, anything like that. For consumers. What we do is we contact the business using our resources, let them know your side of the story, let them know what will resolve the complaint. And a lot of times that's exactly what it takes for the business to listen up and pay up in some respects for what they owe back to the consumer. So it's not always going to court, but if we do get a lot of complaints about the same contractor, if there's clearly a pattern or practice of bad behavior and unconscionable acts by the contractor, then certainly we could investigate and maybe file a lawsuit against that company. So it really starts with informal dispute resolution, and we're not gonna file suit on behalf of just one customer having a one-off complaint. But the more of your neighbors, the more of other people complain about a business, that starts to get our attention, and in a good way. So we're able to get the bat for consumers and hopefully get everybody's money back.
In the contract world, I know of a number of contractors who, from November, December, January, and February, have very limited work experience. And so when the spring comes along, many individual contractors are hungry for doing the work, but they got to replenish the equipment. They've got to replenish some of the expenses that they have been incurring. And consequently, some of them take 2, 3, or 4 jobs at the same time. And it's slow completing everything. So suggestions on making sure that your project gets completed as quick as possible.
Well, certainly you want to see if they're licensed, certified, and have insurance. I mean, depending on the project and what community you're in, they may need to register, pull permits, things like that. You want to make sure they're able to handle the job. And if they're making mistakes up front by not knowing that information, they may be in over their heads. And that's where you got to have your antennas up for someone who is not necessarily a straight up scammer, but someone who may mean well, but they've gotten too many jobs to juggle and too few resources and too few people working for them to complete the jobs that they've already committed to. So that's tough. I mean, it's tough for a consumer. So what we recommend is check out the company's reputation. All of our consumer complaints, and we got 25,000 plus consumer complaints in 2023. All those consumer complaints are public record. So you can go to the Ohio Attorney General's office, our website at www.ohioattorneygeneral.gov, and you can do a few things. Number one, you can search to see if there are any consumer complaints. That's step number one. Step number two is to see if we've ever sued them. We have an online database of suits that we filed in the last several years. See if they've been in trouble with our office and have actually had to go to court to defend themselves. And also along those lines, you can see if we've gotten any judgments on behalf of consumers against that company, a court-ordered judgment, anything like that. So it starts with sort of doing some talking to friends and neighbors, but it really takes going online to check the company's reputation. And the Better Business Bureau is a really good partner of ours as well. And so if you go to your Better Business Bureau's website at www.bbb.org, you can find letter grades for a whole bunch of contractors out there. They may get A pluses, they may get Fs, they may be accredited by the Better Business Bureau, they may not be. All that information is at your fingertips at that bbb.org. So I think those two websites, ohioattorneygeneral.gov and www.bbb.org, are very, very important to doing research, as is doing internet searches. I mean, look at the name, Google or use your typical search engine to do a nice little internet search for the name of the company or the name of the contractor, along with keywords such as scam or complaint or problem, things like that, to find their reputation out on the general internet. There may be some databases or there may be some bulletin boards where people have posted negative or positive reviews of that same company. And of course, you have to be careful. Some scammers are savvy. They'll change their name several times and try to start fresh and just fail consumers over and over again. So you got to watch out for people that may be doing business under a lot of different names. In fact, I feel like it takes us paragraphs to tell the story of how many times all the names that some of these contractors are going by, depending on the scenario. Sometimes it takes paragraphs to just put in a legal brief what they're known as, because they may be going by a whole bunch of different names.
You had once said to also be very careful about contractors who don't have insurance. So let's suppose that I get someone that's involved in fixing my roof and falls off and breaks his leg and things of that nature. Who is responsible for that?
It can be a mess that you can avoid by making sure that you ask for proof of insurance, as well as any certificates or licensing they may need, any permits they might need to pull in your community. So it's really important to make sure you get that information. And if it's not readily available, maybe there's a problem. That should be a red flag. But I can't give any legal advice. But if people have questions, they need to ask them in advance. And if for some reason you have a problem you can't work out with a contractor, that's when you go to the Attorney General's Help Center. And we have specialists that work in the area of home improvement and home repair. So they know some of the contractors in Ohio. They've dealt with some, not all of them. But they've dealt with the good and the bad, I'm sure, and we've sued some of the bad. But it just really takes a special set of skills to use informal dispute resolution for someone who may be in over their head. And maybe they thought they could do the job, but they haven't fulfilled it, and they don't have any resources left to do the job. That's when you need to work out details about getting a refund, or if you can't work it out on your own, going to the Attorney General's office for the help that we're able to give consumers.
So let's suppose that I have insurance on my house, and the insurance, and there was an injury, there was a problem with weather related, and the insurance company was going to cover it. Who is responsible for acquiring that contractor? Would it be the homeowner or the insurance adjuster?
Well, I think it would probably be the homeowner, but the insurance adjuster may have some quote unquote recommendations about who to use, or they may there may be some back and forth about the amount that they'll pay, things like that. But that's sometimes, you can negotiate the amount with the insurance adjuster, but when it comes time to actually hire a contractor, I would say that it's really up to the consumer about who to choose to do that work, and making sure you choose somebody of quality. And while I haven't had any claims in my condo, I've had claims with car accidents and things like that. And you need to compare body shops just like you would a roofing contractor, and find out what the best package is. I mean, I was able to get a rental car at no cost to me or the insurance company, and because I selected and looked at all my different options. So just like with a car, just like with an unfortunate car accident, when damage is done to your home, when damage is done to your condo, unfortunately, we're left with the burden of cleaning up the mess. With the help of the insurance company, with the help of contractors, we need to empower ourselves to do a lot of the digging, a lot of the research, getting the recommendations. And it's a burdensome process, but in the end, make sure you protect yourself and you have consumer law that's there to give you benefits. And one of those benefits is the 3-day right to cancel. If anybody comes to your home and wants to start work right away, and demands to start work right away and get paid right away, that's a sign of it might be a scam, because there's a 3-day right to cancel in Ohio for anybody signing a contract in their homes or anywhere other than the normal place of business for a contractor. So if they're going door to door and don't tell you about your 3-day right to cancel, that's a red flag. They may not be complying with all of Ohio's laws.
In the springtime, it seems that in our particular area, water is a major problem. There's a lot of rain, and I know that in some properties, if they are in a floodplain, they have to get other kinds of insurance, flood insurance with the government. And that can be very pricey. And sometimes people don't bother with that because the frequency of the problems with water rarely occur.
I'm in a designated flood zone according to FEMA, and we have to get special insurance through our condo association because we live so close to water sources such as the Scioto River here in Columbus, Ohio. We have to get insurance, and I would say that accounts for probably 40% or more of the total expenses of the condo association every year goes towards the mandatory flood insurance. And we have to show proof every year to our mortgage company that they have that flood insurance. So it's a big deal, and it's very costly. And even if you don't expect the flood, you either have to contest FEMA's designation or pay up for that insurance year after year. And there's some other tips I have as well for people that are getting home repair, home improvement work done. Beyond not making a large down payment, you want to avoid paying in cash. It leaves you with a limited paper trail if something goes wrong. When in doubt, pay with a credit card, or just be skeptical and get more than one estimate. But when you found your choice of contractor, try to pay with a credit card. That'll give you the maximum amount of consumer protection, more so than a debit card or cash or something like that. And you also want to get all your promises in writing. I mean, gone are the days where you could just shake somebody's hand and you've got a deal. If they promise you or guarantee you anything, even deadlines for work, color of the roofing, shingles, all those things need to be in writing in a sales contract that you look at and don't sign until you're sure with all of the small print, large print, medium-sized print. Make sure you know the whole contract in and out, and take a deep breath and walk away if they're putting pressure on you. Don't sign something right away unless you understand what you're doing. And if you need to go to someone in your community, like an attorney or someone else you might trust before signing a contract, by all means do that. Instead of signing something that you don't know the contents of or not sure how it's going to work when they come to do the work on your home. And you also want to beware of people that want payment made out to themselves instead of their company. That's sometimes a red flag. And also, learn about the red flags of a traveling scam artist. If they say they have leftover materials from a job nearby, or that they offer unbelievably low prices, be suspicious. Make sure their story checks out, because especially with storm damage, if it's a fly-by-night contractor, they may be preying on you being in a difficult situation when you want work done right away. So if they're willing to start work right away and not telling you of your 3-day right to cancel, and wanting all the money up front, and demanding cash, I mean, those are all the signs of let's not do this deal. Let's get some other estimates and see what the competing contractors have in store for our project.
It reminds me of a situation that occurred not too long ago. I had a roofing on my house, and he had priced it way, way too high for my ability to pay. And then one of the workers came by me a little bit later and said he'll be glad to do it for less amount of money. But I had to turn that down because I was really concerned. Maybe he doesn't have the proper insurance, or he doesn't have the kind of equipment that is needed.
Right. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And if he's trying to, compete with his boss or something and do work on the side, they may not even be willing to go into a written contract. I mean, those are some signs that it might not be legitimate. But if they're trying to undercut their company, and if they want checks made out to themselves, or they want a lot of money in advance, those are signs that you might want to take a deep breath and just consider your skepticism, and may want to look elsewhere to have the job completed, or at least get some other companies that may have positive referrals from friends and family. But again, if you need help, our website, our toll-free number is www.ohioattorneygeneral.gov. And our phone number for our help center, they're there typically 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. during the work week. And that phone number is 800-282-0515. Again, that's 800-282-0515. If you run into a problem, if you spot a scam, if you want to complain about a business, those are your best resources to reach the Ohio Attorney General.
I know we've been talking about homeowners, but what happens if I'm a renter and I'm renting some property and something happens? Who is responsible for fixing that? Is it the renter or the owner?
Then we'd have to go to the lease agreement and see. But I mean, typically, if you're renting, including in that rent should be property taxes and those types of things. And you want to, if you're a wise consumer, you might want to consider a few companies that might offer you apartment insurance for your contents. And then, of course, if there is a disaster or something like that, you'll consult your landlord, consult your lease agreement, and certainly don't pay for something yourself if it's the owner's or landlord's responsibility. But if you get into a disagreement, if you can't work things out, let our office know. And then also another good resource for folks that are 60 and older that might be watching the program, if you're looking for Legal advice, we cannot give it at the Attorney General's office. We only give legal advice to elected officials and county prosecutors and government offices. But if you need legal advice and you're 60 or older, a wise choice of resources would be Pro Seniors. And they're available at www.proseniors.org. And what they do is they will do a phone consultation with an attorney. They'll at least give you a chance to ask those questions and get responses from an attorney in Ohio or that represents consumers in Ohio. So that's a good resource if all else fails and you need legal advice but don't know an attorney and you happen to be 60 or older. Otherwise, there's legal aid and the Bar Association for referrals and things like that. So while we do informal dispute resolution, we cannot act as an individual's lawyer or represent them in court. When we go to court, it's to represent the entire public interest for the state of Ohio.
I know that the Attorney General's office is not only involved with scams, but they have a variety of different programs that are available. Care to share basic information about this?
Sure. We have 3 consumer educators on staff, and what we do first and foremost is give presentations on topics like consumer scams, senior scams, identity theft, cybersecurity, and shopping smart by knowing your rights. And so you can find out more at www.ohioattorneygeneral.gov about how to get us out to your community to talk about these issues. And if you have less than 20 people, we might still be able to help you through a virtual presentation. We've done virtual presentations with a handful of people because at least it doesn't involve any travel time and it's limited resources that that come to bear with a presentation like that. But if you have 20 or more people, we can travel anywhere in Ohio to try to talk to your group about consumer protection topics. So again, our phone number is 800-282-0515, and our big website for our whole office, ohioattorneygeneral.gov.
Hey, we're talking with Ryan Lippe. Ryan Lippe is a consumer educator with the State of Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost. Ryan, thank you.
Thanks, Pat. I appreciate it.